Good morning. Happy New Year 2022. I'm out for a little run walk. And as I was leaving the house this morning, my wife was coming back. She's a group fitness instructor. And she said nobody showed up. She said 4 people had signed up, but here we are, the first day of the new year, and she said nobody showed up to class. So it made me start thinking, and why set a resolution when you know you're going to break it? So as I run along today, as I have ideas for encouragement, I'm going to record them and compile them together at the end, and hopefully it'll make some sense. All right, so I was just remembering some statistics that I had looked up previously. I think it goes back to a study back in 2016 where I think it was only 41% of Americans set a resolution at the beginning of the year. And as they were tracking them by the end of the year, I think they said only 9% felt that they had stuck to their resolution. So we can look at that glass half full or half empty. First of all, people set a goal. They set a resolution. They decided to do something. And then I was looking up some statistics from last year, because you would think with everything going on with COVID, it could have really depressed people. But what they found from that is that as they were tracking people, 75% of the people who had set a New Year's resolution at the end of the first week were still sticking to it. That decreased to 71% after the week 2. After 1 month, it was 64%, and after 6 months, it was down to 46%. So you could think, yep, same story. People they aren't sticking to their resolution. But when they compared that to individuals who had a similar goal, but they did not set a resolution, only 4% of those individuals had accomplished or had stuck to it. So compare 46% to 4%, and I think that's a telling tale. So the lesson to me is set a resolution. So you might ask, what is a resolution? Setting a firm decision to change something, to continue a good practice, to identify a trait or a behavior that needs to be changed, accomplishing a personal goal or some other type of improvement in your life. Just making that firm decision that you're going to do something, you have a much stronger likelihood of achieving it. That's hilarious. Who would have thought? In the middle of the street by the Sutter Delta Medical Center, we got some wild turkeys. All right, thought of another interesting idea. So we are teleological beings. We have an ultimate purpose, an ultimate aim, an ultimate goal, an end goal, something that we are trying to achieve and become. And so going back to my medical background, I remember studying telomeres. Telomeres are the end caps on the end of our chromosomes. So thinking about, we are teleological beings, it's in our DNA literally. Interesting topic for another day. But anyway, at the end of the day, we have to have some goal or purpose that is driving us. Really understanding why. What is the purpose? Understanding maybe patterns in the past which have caused you to think about it. This is something that I want to improve upon. I'll continue on when I have another idea. What is a solution? A solution is solving a problem. A solution is coming up with an answer, figuring out why. So why not do a re-solution last year and thinking through what went well, what went right, what could be improved. What a great way to come up with an idea for a New Year's resolution, something that you want to change. Okay, next one. The word resolution in a literary context. Denouement, uncovering what the complicated issue is in a storyline. So typically after the climax in the story, main character, something happens, but you start to identify the resolution. As you think about setting a New Year's resolution and trying to look at patterns from past years or behaviors and things that you want to change, perhaps you can use that as a way to identify what would be, one or two things to start working on. Okay, next couple of thoughts that can increase our likelihood of achieving and sticking to our goals. Number one is write it down, put it in a visible place. So going back to the 46 versus 4% that I mentioned earlier, the likelihood of sticking to it by writing it down and looking at it daily, reviewing it, is going to jump up your odds tremendously. Thought that goes along with another definition. Resolution, in technical terms, is where I think it's 640 by 480 pixels is the lowest resolution that you can have on a monitor. And nowadays we have, I think it's 8K, which is like 8,000 pixels, like all these dots. If we think of resolution in that context, what can we do to make improvements? And I would say maybe planning the night before. It's like, how can we make it so simple? As I've told a lot of my patients and friends over the years who've asked me for advice, and say, well, to me, the hardest thing about running is putting on my shoes. You're like, what do you mean? It's not hard. Well, exactly. But if you set your shoes out the night before, if you make a plan, and then you put the shoes on, and then you get out the door, once you get out the door and go down the next corner, you're running. So make it really easy. So change your resolution, shrink it down to the easiest number of pixels, the easiest ways to accomplish it, and then start from there. And I think you'll have success. All right, so next idea is a play on the word resolution or re-solution. Going back to chemistry, think of salt water. Water is the solvent, salt is the solute. Depending on the mixture of the two, you come up with a consistency. So maybe what we have to do is what I call fill the void. So if you're going to make a change, you're either removing something or adding something in. So depending on that consistency, if you just leave a void or a gap, something is going to fill that gap. And so that's why usually people revert back to their old habit. So you either have to replace and fix that mixture consistency so that you'll be able to stick to your plan and your goal. Next is the idea of accountability. So do you hold yourself accountable? Have you shared the goal with somebody else? Have you set up a way to report and let that person know, or have them check in on you? So just the idea, the ability to plan ahead, part of filling in the mixture, changing the mixture, what things will you do differently? So you have to build in this accountability, the ability for yourself to record on a daily basis, and be able to see how you did. So this all ties back to the purpose, and maybe needing to look at the patterns, figuring out why you're doing something or why you want to make some changes. Our main purpose, even the philosophers, ancient philosophers talk about purpose of happiness and living to our virtues. Eudaimonia is that achieving, that flourishing, achieving purpose. So when we're out of sync, or we don't feel that we're congruent with our true purpose and achieving that, maybe that's a signal to ourselves that we need to make some kind of a change. So holding ourselves accountable, recording and recognizing where we may have made some mistakes, figuring out what those gaps are. These are all clues to help us solve the riddle, solve the problem. Morning, Happy New Year. So last idea is, as I climb this hill, it's all about measuring our progress as we go. So some form of measurement. All right, let's keep the ideas coming. We're gonna make 2022 an awesome year.